Alright, well, we're going to talk about bone broth, something that all you guys are eating right now. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the food that we prepared. One was we used beef bones and one was chicken bones. And bone broth is something that I incorporate in my diet on a regular basis, not only because it's economically cheap, but it is nutrient dense and it's very easy, especially if you have a crazy schedule. Making bone broth is really, really easy. So I will eat this in my diet in a variety of different ways, whether it's for dinner or it's for breakfast or whatever. So I'm going to go over some components of just how to make the bone broth, and then I'm going to show you guys kind of how I incorporate it in my diet in an easy way. So I brought some bones. These are beef bones. This is the chicken back and neck. Very good. Then here's some chicken feet for whoever's kind of a little bit more adventurous. So you can really use any type of bones from, I wrote down a couple different ones, from like fish to beef to goat to lamb to chicken to duck. Any type of bones you can use, but some of the bones that I'm going to be focusing on more are more healing for the gut. What Katie was talking about is gut health. These bone broth soups are really not only nutrient dense, but they actually help heal the gut and heal the gut lining that's been damaged through all the processed foods that we've been eating, the environment we've been exposed to, and the chemicals. So beef bones are really great for healing the gut, and the key to with the beef bones you want to try and get the beef bones with a lot of marrow in them. The marrow is going to be the most healing part for your gut. And then chicken bones, what those are typically good for, those are more going to cause your body to heal with like joint issues. They're going to help heal the joints, heal ligaments, help anyone with arthritis. Those are what the chicken bones are going to be better for if you have those types of issues. But what I like to do is I like to alternate my bone broths. I don't like to do the same one all the time. I like to do, for example, one week do beef, next week do chicken, and just kind of alternate it to give your body a variety of these nutrients that are packed in these bone broths. So to make the bone broth, super easy. You need a crock pot, or you can use a regular pot, but you got to kind of watch it more on the stove. You got to be a bit more careful with it. So I typically like to just use a crock pot because I'll start it the night before, and then you just let it run overnight about 6 to 8 hours to get as many nutrients out of the bones as you can, because really you're making a high mineral nutrient dense soup here. So then all you do is take your water. I like to get purified water because in Lake Erie we do have a couple issues with microcystine and algal blooms and all sorts of things. So I like to get purified water. So I'll add my water into the pot, and then I'll take my bones. Then I'll add, for example, just like a couple beef bones, or I'll put in the chicken and the chicken feet. And then what you want to do to extract the most nutrients out of it is you want to add something acidic like apple cider vinegar or a lemon. So by adding that, you're going to get more nutrients out of the bones. And again, you really only need to let it go for about 6 to 8, but you can let it go up to 72 hours. That's totally cool.
How much apple cider vinegar would you put in?
Like a tablespoon at most. You can always add a little bit more or less depending how you like the taste. I usually like to do lemons because apple cider vinegar will, if you add too much, it'll give it a taste, but if you like that taste, you're fine with it.
So how many lemons would you put in?
I usually do a whole lemon.
Just one?
Yeah, just one whole lemon. Then
You cut it though, right?
yes, I cut it and squeeze the juice out.
Just show you.
So then we'll add that, and then after about overnight, then you can either, if there's some meat on your bones, you can take the meat off because the meat will cook overnight, so you can separate the meat from it. And the meat is actually really nutritious at this point too because it's a boiled meat. So because of the water content, it's actually more digestible than, for example, your grilled meats or your fried meats. So it's going to be more digestible, and then you can let the bones cook longer if you want it to go up to those 72 hours. I just leave everything on the bones and I just let it cook for the 72 hours or however. And then there's some other stuff that you can add. So talking again about the joints, eggshells. Eggshells are high in hyaluronic acid, which is great for cushioning the joints and helping to rebuild the tissue. So I will add a couple eggshells in there too. Now you don't want to go too crazy with eggshells because it will make it taste funny. So I usually add about like 3 whole eggshells at most into a bowl of soup, and that is perfect. You're not eating the eggshells, you're just getting the nutrients from the eggshells themselves. And if you want to kind of help with food prep, you could even throw a whole egg in there and like slow cook the egg overnight, so then you got some boiled eggs that were saturated in your bone broth soup. So then once you do that, especially with the chicken bones, when it comes to the straining out process for whatever you're going to do with it, you want another pot and then you want a strainer because there's a lot of little bones, especially if you get like a chicken back and neck, or you can throw in the whole chicken. There's a lot of little bones and they disintegrate really easy. So then you want to take it and then you just want to strain it out just to separate everything. It just makes it easier so you won't choke on anything. And then at that point, what I typically like to do is I'll add it back to the crock pot, and then this is where you can get super fancy. You don't have to add anything in particular. I don't really follow a recipe, so I'll add like my ginger, I'll add some cayenne pepper, I'll add some astragalus, some cinnamon, some powdered ginger too. Anything really that you have, whether it be the whole herbs or the powder herbs. And then you want to add a little bit of salt as well too, some good Himalayan sea salt or some natural salt, not the junk salt at most places that you see. You want to get good source of salt. Then you can really add those in there and make really anything that you want. Like what I made today, I made the beef from the beef bones, and I literally just put some cinnamon, some turmeric, some ginger, some apples, and some carrots. So you can really put anything that you want in there and make a soup to be more filling. But what I like to do a lot of times in the morning, especially when it's cold, because it might be getting cold here soon.
No.
And so what I like to do in the morning is I like to make what's called is a bone broth smoothie. So I know it sounds super appetizing. So I will literally just take the bone broth, put it in the blender, put all my herbs, cut up half an avocado, and add a little bit of honey, maybe even throw in some coconut oil too. Blend that up, and that will be my breakfast. And that pretty much has all your components, like Katie shared about how you want to get your proteins, you want to get your fats. So sometimes I'll put like some brown rice protein in there too. And then you can just pack a little bit of veggies with you. So that's easy for you to take on the go. And it's an easy way to consume it. Because a lot of people, the thing is people will make it, but then they just don't know what to do with it once you get it and how to consume it on a regular basis. So I'll consume this is not that much. I'll consume this much in like 4 days. Just myself with making the bone broth smoothies. So that's the biggest thing is you just want to find ways to incorporate it into your diet. So then you can do the bone broth smoothie in the morning, then you could add your vegetables in it, and then you come back to it later at night, and then there's your soup for dinner. So you can have it in a variety of different ways, and that way you're getting your vegetables, you're getting your fats, because there are a lot of fats from these bones. So here's some bones that I cooked up a couple days ago, and these are all stuck together because there's so much fat on this. And this is stuff that you can eat. So this is great fat, again, for healing the gut, because really the fat is the key to healing the gut, and that's one thing that you'll get a lot of from cooking these bone broth soups. So it's very, very easy. There's a lot of blogs online now. There's a lot of resources online, whether it's like Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Google. There's all these people that are starting to recognize the benefits of bone broth soup, because really people have been eating soup for thousands of years, and if we even go back a couple generations, here in America, people used to cook bones up all the time for soups. They used to make their own soup stocks. They didn't buy it from stores with all these added processed things in it to try to preserve it. So really this stuff is easy, and to get a hold of bones is pretty easy too. You have a question?
Yeah, I do. Now, our culture rolls its nose up at marrow. Do you salvage the marrow for your broth?
Yes, I do salvage the marrow because if you look at studies, it's shown that the marrow is the most nutrient dense part of the bone. Super, super great, again, for healing those ligaments and those joints, which a lot of people have. Like my dad, he works on guitars and he gets a lot of joint pain in his hands, arthritic pain. So a big thing for him is if he wants to continue to do this, he needs to not only get off some processed foods, which cause the inflammatory, but he needs a lot of these foods that help heal that as well.
How about peelings off of, some people still want to peel their potatoes or their carrots, and the dry peelings you take off of onions, how about that? Do you use those?
I will not peel my carrots as long as they're organic, but I still will wash them. Even if you get something that's still organic, you still want to wash it because when it travels, there's still so many potential for so many different exposures, unless it's grown local. So I just go pick stuff out here, so I don't wash it necessarily.
Just to add to what you just asked, for me, maybe like the day before I make my bone broth, if I'm cooking something else and I peel my carrots or I peel whatever vegetables I'm using or fruits or whatever, I'll just make a little bowl of it, stick it in the fridge. Then when I make my bone broth, I'll dump all those vegetable scraps, like some of the kale or some of the whatever in there, just to get some of the nutrients out of there. And then when I strain it, I'll strain those things out. But you don't have to do those things, but yeah, if you have them lying around and you want to add it to your bone broth, you can absolutely.
How about the peelings off of the dry peelings off the outsides of onions?
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that. I personally never put the dry parts, but I'll put some of my leftover,
Because it all gets strained out anyway.
Right, yeah, you're straining it out. But I've done that with the potatoes or sweet potatoes and things, so I don't see why not for onions.
You have a question?
I do. Once you've done your broth and you've strained out the bones and whatever else you put in there,
Sure.
is it a one-time use, and do you pitch that?
Okay, so you're asking about storing, or how long it's good for? Or?
No, the things that you've
Oh,
strained.
the bones?
Do you just use it once, or do you put it back in the crock pot and make another broth?
Pretty much you just use it once,
Okay.
and then you get everything. That's why I do the 72 hours, because I'm just going to do it once and get everything out of it. So then,
And what do you do with the bones afterwards that you use?
You should tell them how you, for the 72 hours, Josiah will, maybe after 24 hours, we'll start to use the broth, and then he'll just add more water in. So for the 72 hours, you can be using some of that broth and just keep adding water in. So you're getting a little bit more than just that first crock pot.
yeah, so that's what I'll do a lot is after I'll let it go the first night, and then I'll start making my bone broth smoothies, and then as I'm taking from it, I'll add a little bit more lemon and then a little bit more water to fill it up to get everything, to make sure I'm getting everything out of it. And then what I usually do after the bones, if you have a dog, you can give them to your dog, or I don't know, throw them in they don't compost really well, do they? That's it. But I've heard if you have a pressure cooker and you cook the bones in a pressure cooker, it'll make them into these tablets that just dissolve. So I've heard of people consuming them that way too, if you have a pressure cooker and if you want to cook them that way. So it's just these calcium tablets and people eat them. I know in Asian culture that's what they do with them. So yeah, so then that will cause the beef bones to disintegrate, but you'll find out with the chicken bones, they disintegrate by themselves. If you try to pick them out, they just fall apart.
So for that size of crock pot, do you use that whole bag of bones?
For this size of crock pot, no, I would use like 2 or 3
Oh,
at
okay.
most. And then you want to be, so there will be some meat on the bone sometimes depending on what you use. Like if you use a whole chicken, there'll be obviously a lot of meat, so you can do that. And then get the meat off and then put the bones back in if you want. What I've noticed with beef bones a lot of times is, so you're going to set your crock pot just on low. And a lot of times it can bring up the temperature because there's a lot of fat. So you just want to watch it because fat will produce a lot of heat. So, and that fat again is not bad. Don't be afraid of it. It looks scary. It doesn't look good. But everything looks so pretty once you blend it up. It all looks good.
So you don't skim that fat? just
No,
leave it
you don't
in
want to
there.
skim the fat because
Just leave
the
it.
fat again is going to be the most healing part. So this is where we want to be getting those good fats into our body because that's going to be your longer sustained energy throughout the day. And it's going to also help get a lot of toxins out of your body because toxins bind to fat. So it's a defense mechanism that your body will store those toxins in fat in your body so it's not doing damage to organs. So the fat will help pull those things out as well too.
So if I were to make a big batch, like not the crock pot,
Right.
like in the big, yeah, I can, put it in glass jars and freeze it?
Yes, you can freeze it. That will help it last longer.
Okay.
But you want to leave space obviously
Oh, yeah,
because of
yeah,
expansion.
right.
So that's one thing that I wanted to hit on was the different types of storage. So if you're just going to put it in a jar, it's good for about 5 to 7 days in the fridge. But if there's 1 to 2 inches of fat, then it can stay for 3 months in the fridge.
In the fridge?
In the fridge, right. But then once you use that, you have to use that whole thing.
Right.
But again, yeah, you could freeze it if you want to.
For how long? 6 months, maybe?
I've never freezed it, but I would have 6
Yeah,
months.
6 months.
6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 6 months. So you could do that.
But we should be using this up.
Oh, yeah.
But you should be
Yeah.
eating it. Yeah, you should be trying to eat it on a.
Process of doing it, I would have to do it next week, next week.
Well, it's still very easy because you literally
Right,
just put
yeah.
the bones in, some water, some lemon, turn it on low, and then you literally forget about it. You just want to check on it.
So you don't
Every
add
so
your
often.
seasonings and stuff till you're ready to
Till
like
after-
add the vegetables
right.
and all that?
Yeah, it's really up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You can add in the seasonings the same time that you are doing the bones. Like you could cut up your ginger, some turmeric, some sea salt. You can add everything in. I like making mine super spicy, so I'll put a ton of turmeric, ginger, cayenne pepper, and coconut oil and all those things in there. Actually, in the beginning, but you don't have to.
But if you've got all the fat from the bones, why would you even need coconut oil? Is that just to
Because
give
it's
it
different.
taste?
It's a different type of fat. So those are like your long chain. Coconut oil is your medium chain. So
Okay.
the reaction in the body is different. And do you
Yeah,
have-
no, I was just gonna say coconut oil is, right, it's a medium chain triglyceride.
Yeah.
So your body, it takes a completely different pathway in your gut compared to like the long chain fatty acids that we talked about.
Yeah.
So it's used almost immediately for fuel.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
great for energy. It literally can't be stored as fat. Like,
Okay.
don't be afraid of using coconut oil.
Yep.
If you aren't used to using coconut oil, you might want to start slow because it might make you run to the bathroom if you throw in like tablespoons. You're not used to doing it, so I would just start with like a teaspoon and work your way up. But yeah, don't be scared of coconut oil. It's
Yeah.
great
So
for
there's a bunch of, so you got your long chain and your medium chain. So I like to have combination of both of my long chain and my medium chain because and there's so many wonderful properties from coconut oil, not only getting it into your diet internally, but you can also put it on your body topically to heal. So a lot of people will rub it on their thyroid because coconut oil is great for their thyroid. So you can rub it on your thyroid and it actually helps restore thyroid properties. You can put it on your skin. There's
Will
literally,
that help your metabolism?
yes. Coconut oil helps your metabolism. It helps actually elevate the heat within your body too. So after I drink this stuff in the wintertime, I'm like burning up sometimes. I'm super hot. Like with last year's winter, I was never cold because I was drinking this stuff. So
I can't have it at night then, because I have had hot flashes.
so yeah, so that's why you can do whatever you want. You can use cooling herbs, you can use warming herbs, basically tailor it. So that's why you might want to add herbs in later when you're making whatever you want, so you can try a couple different things. So that's, I know I've been doing it for a while, and I know what I like, so that's why I throw everything in the beginning, because that's just easier for me. But if you want to be like, I don't know if I like ginger in here, then add it in after, or you don't know if you like.
Do it later. That way you could make two different things out of
Exactly,
one batch, you know?
exactly.
Like have a sweeter apple type thing, and then, you know, make another batch of the chicken.
Yeah, again, so you can do it any way you want. If you want to split it up into using two different dishes, then you can add it in later. So there's really no, again, right or wrong way to do this. The biggest thing is you just want to do it so you will consume it on a regular basis. The thing is you want to get this in. You don't want to get it in like once in a great while, because you're really not going to see the benefits from it, and you really don't need to consume that much of it either, especially when you make the smoothies. You don't need a whole lot, because that's a lot of nutrients right there. So you got to make sure that your body's metabolizing them too. So I'll do like 16 ounces, 32 if that's my meal for the whole day. And then I'll just kind of sip on that all day. And when you make these bone broths, again, 80% of digestion actually happens in the mouth. So you don't want to like gulp these things down. Because if you're switching from the typical American standard diet, which we eat a lot of grains and we feel very heavy, you're not going to feel very heavy when you consume these things. So you're going to gulp this shake down or this bone broth down in a matter of 2 seconds. And you're actually not allowing your body to process it as efficiently and effectively as it can, because there's what's called is amylase in your mouth and the parotid gland. So by taking a little drink, kind of swishing it around for a little bit, kind of activating the parotid gland, getting the amylase, getting the saliva, that actually signals your gut what enzymes to start using, and that helps you coats all your food and already starts the digestion process. So that will actually help your body assimilate more of these nutrients and vitamins, because I know everyone is cramped for time. We live in such a fast-paced society that you're just gonna throw it back and then be done, which is not the best thing. So you want to be sipping this thing throughout the day. So, yeah. And I think that's it.
The
Yeah.
best way you can learn about this stuff is just try different stuff.
Yeah.
Remember what you tried, but have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Because you might be amazed at what you find and what you like of what you did. The key is remembering what you did.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, there's really nothing wrong that you can throw in here. I mean, you can throw in cabbage, you can throw in kale, you can throw in, I threw in apples. I mean, there's really nothing that you can't throw in these things. Again, it's just being creative. I think one thing that in today is most people have become so afraid of the kitchen, and then we have to follow these certain procedures of directions. And that's not really true. You can really tailor things to your own liking. But if you need, in the beginning, some guidance, some boundaries, some recipes to follow, there's tons of stuff online, tons of recipes online, tons of videos. So start with those if that is going to get you to start making these things. But then after that, I mean, feel free to do whatever you really want with it. So yeah, and then that's where again you can add it in afterwards, because then you can use one batch and try a bunch of different stuff. So this is something that I consume on a pretty much almost daily basis, again, because it is so nutrient dense, and working full time, going to school full time, having a girlfriend, you don't have much time to, think about anything else. So yeah. So any more questions?
I'm new to all that, so can you just buy a bag of bones from the store? Or you have
Okay.
to buy.
Yeah, that's what I forgot to mention. Places to get bones. I get my bones from a local farmer. Actually, he's called CJ Farms. CJ Farms. They're out in Defiance, and they have
Canal Junction?
Canal Junction. Yeah.
Okay, I do business with them too.
They have a variety of different bones that you can get, and all their stuff is wonderful because it's grass-fed, free-range, no antibiotics, no hormones. So they have, a bag of bones is $9 for 3 pounds. Yep, $9 for 3 pounds, and this is not, I've used some bones from here, but they give you, so you got like a whole variety of different cuts of bones, so which is very nice. And they also have your chicken bones, your chicken feet, oxtail, and they have a lot of your healthy fats that you can also cook with. They sell lard, fantastic stuff. And you can really, you can put like ribs in here, you can do any type of bone, so they're great.
Are they like a market?
They're not a market, but you can look them up online, and they come to different locations for their drop-offs.
Oh.
Every
Every 2 weeks they come around.
Yeah, so you can look at
They
that.
go to Onyapka next to Bass's.
Can I add to that?
Oh.
Sure.
So, to add to, if there's ever a local butchers around, of course, I live on the other side of town, we have Tanks meats, but I'm sure there are House of Meats and places like that. Myers doesn't even sell meat with bones in them, so that I'm like, listen, I want a roast with bone in it. He goes, oh, we haven't done that in 5 years. That's why I don't buy meat here. Because I like to make the roast, then I take the bones and I boil them.
Right.
But yeah, so I doubt Walmart has it. So if you go to the large grocery
Kroger
store chain,
sells bones.
they may or may not, Kroger might,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
Meyer does not. It hasn't done it in 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I've
again,
been
like-
looking for someplace that has grass-fed meat too.
Right, so like
CJ Farms, they have those.
CJ Farms, Anderson's, your local butcher, those
Churchill
are,
sells bones
Yeah.
too.
Churchill sells bones.
What about, I know you said the beef and the chicken are the healthier ones, but what about like pork or even like some of your wild game, like deer? You know what I mean? It's coming into deer season.
Yeah. Well, when I mentioned, these ones are better for you in relationships to gut health, but deer, you can use deer. I don't know about pork. I know a lot of people cook ham hocks. That's a roommate of mine used to do that. I don't know. Do you know?
I imagine you can. For
Yeah.
some reason, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about making broth.
Yeah.
But definitely wild game and anything like that, like any of the protein. You can even do fish, like
Yeah.
a lot of people stay away from it. It has a very strong smell. It's really good for you. So I've done fish broth before. Any kind of fish broth you want to throw in there.
Yeah. So fish, anything. I just haven't heard much people doing pork, but anything, your deer, your wild game, all those are going to be fantastic too because they're obviously eating well in the wild.
Well, and I guess one of the reasons I said something about pork is because I know even my mom said something about, she had a ham bone, so
Sure.
like you would do for your, sorry, even if you didn't see
Yeah.
one, but,
So yeah, I imagine it's the same concept, so I don't see why not.
Yeah, I would see why not. Yeah, I would.
My pork bones with my deer bones.
You can also save your smaller bones. Like if I make chicken thighs or something, we just save all the bones. I throw them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in the freezer, and then when I accumulate enough of those, I have another batch. You should just save all those smaller bones and just throw them in the freezer, and then you'll have enough sooner than later.
So any bones really. Just go find some bones.
I've never left a crock pot on for 3 days, but
Sure.
you guys do that routinely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop by my house.
And then it's like
Out in 2 hours. It's
And they're made to go for that long?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As long as you have it on low, obviously don't leave it on high. You leave it on low or leave it on warm. And yeah, I'll let mine go sometimes for a week. But
It's actually best if you've got a crock pot that has the temperature gauge.
Low.
Because even low can get really hot.
Yeah.
But you know, if you get the one with the temperature gauge and keep it under 180.
But yeah, I leave crock pots on regularly all the time. I know it sounds scary, but yeah, they're pretty safe. So, yeah, good question.
Can I add a modification to where you get your bones? Is there's a lot of these bones in big supermarkets come from livestock that has been fed a lot of hormones and growth. So it's, I don't know, I would propose that it is important to read what your source is.
That is true, but you got to look at what people can have access to, and what's also in the budget. But again, the Canal Junction is actually pretty economically feasible. That I found their prices are actually better than Anderson's.
I can't think of the name of it, but there's another natural farm.
Sure.
Down here somewhere, down there's raisins, grain-fed, sort of things. A place like Claudia's.
Yeah, they do sell stuff too. So again, like as you become familiar with this stuff, the biggest thing is just getting your tools, you know, and your resources and knowing what you have locally. So you get your crock pot, and then you just kind of find out what resources you have. And if you don't know where you can get bones, you can talk to, you know, for example, your local health food store, or look online and talk to some farmers or talk to some butchers and just kind of know what you have around that's easily accessible to you that you can use. So yeah, but I would highly recommend trying to find your 100% grass-fed, no antibiotics, no hormones, because that can really mess with some stuff too.